All right, so I'm going to show you how to create a server with my library, the ByrdEngine. So I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch here. Should take about, I don't know, 10 minutes if that. It's very fast process and it's extremely simple, so I'm just going to run you through it. First thing I did was I created a project called Demo. Then in Demo, we want to add the library and reference it. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to right click your project, go to Properties, go to Java Build Path here, the third option, click on Libraries, and then click Add External Jars. Or if you put the jar inside of the demo folder, you can do Add Jars and search inside of the demo folder and find the jar, but mine is external, so I'm going to press ByrdEngine, OK, and you can see I already uploaded it here, so OK, and if you did it right, it should be right there. Then I created a app package inside of a demo.app package, and I created two classes here, the client and the server. So in the client is where we're going to start. Open up the client, public class client. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to say implements, and we're going to say client listener. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, give it a second. It likes to think unnecessarily hard. Alright, so here we go. I know this may look a bit overwhelming, but this is pretty much about as complicated as it gets. So, on object receive, when the server sends you an object, you're going to get the user client, basically the information of the socket. The socket, the getter, and the setter is a user client, and then an object. So on connection lost is just if the user leaves, or if you leave the server. This is all the server here. Actually, I should specify server. It'll make more sense why those are called that on the server. On error, this will send us a enum of errors called chirp. So don't really worry too much about that. I'll show you how to use it, but you don't need to worry about it on connect here. So once we connect to the server, you can run some code to do something. So then on the server, we can do the exact same thing. Implements nest listener. This is a little different from the client listener. So this one we get on object received, just like the client listener, and on connection lost, but instead of getting those other two, we get on account connected. So an account is just a username and a password. However, you don't have to use the accounts. That's just a quick authentication if you don't really feel like building one. It's built in, or you can completely ignore it. So in our client, I'm going to make a public static void main string string array list args. So this is the, sorry, capitalize that, been doing too much JavaScript. This is the function or the method that starts when you run it. So if I was to click this and click run, for example, system.out .println test or hello world. If I run it now, you can see that client will run and the console pops up and test. That's it. So with this, we are going to, when we start the client, we're going to try to start the connect to the server. So we're going to say connection with a capital T or C, connection dot and we can do login. So this is if you have a username and password. We can also do create account. So this is if you wanted to use the whole account feature, you could create a username, create a password, and that's where the errors come in, the chirps. If the username is taken or the password is invalid or taken, then you'll get chirps, which if you take them and put them to string, it'll tell you, username taken or that kind of thing. But just for the sake of saving time, we're just going to use join. So the IP address, I'm going to say localhost, and this just means on this machine, so I don't have to type in my IP there. Port, whichever port you choose for the server, which we're going to set up in a second. So we just need to remember 5666, okay? And then the client listener is this, because this is the client listener, this client class. Okay. Then in our public static void main, we're going to have to make a new client, which isn't a big deal. And then public client is where we're going to put the class. All right, so all this does is we don't have to have the static stuff. That stuff is, I guess, weird for putting things in static, has funky rules. So we're just going to create a new client. Basically, when we click this and press run, it's going to come here and say, all right, create a new client. It's going to look at client, and the first thing it's going to run is this public method. It doesn't have void like all the other methods. So this, it knows to run as soon as you start the client. And then it's going to try joining. But the server isn't on. We need the server to be on before we can try joining to it. So we're going to do the exact same thing we did for the client. Public static void main string array list args, and we're going to say new server, and then we're going to tell the code when you run the server, just like you run the client, you click on client and it'll run the client, but if you click on the server, it'll run the server. So don't worry about having multiple main string args things in your one project. It's totally okay. And in our server, we're going to do connection dot start. And the user client, okay. The user client, I think, is a nest. So we're going to create a nest. Nest. Actually, it's not connection.start. I'm sorry. This nest here is the server, okay? Think of nest as like, just think of it as the server. It's really that simple. And so what we have to do with the nest now is when the server starts, we're going to say nest.build. And see, this is what's going to start your server. So when you build it, you put a port, and we decided the port was going to be 5666, and the nest listener, which is this. All right, so now that we've built it, it's going to automatically start it and run it. And then on account created, we can say connection dot start user client, and the listener is this. And so basically what this does is it says, okay, so once we've built the nest, it's going to turn this on. This right here is going to get turned on a different thread, and it's going to look for clients. And so when someone like this tries to connect, it's going to send it over here, the account. It's going to give us the account information just in case we wanted to know it, and the socket information. And so this socket information we're going to put right here, and it's going to turn these on. So now I can get objects from them, and when I do get objects from them, it's going to show up here. If they decide to leave, it's going to show up here. So yeah, that should be pretty easy. So I'm going to just write system.out.println server started. Actually, it should probably tell me. I'm not sure. I haven't done this in a second. Let me see. Here we go. What is this? Nest. We haven't set nest equal to a thing. So nest equals new nest. Yep. Definitely got to make it before you can use it. Let me just make sure. Okay. Yeah. So server. Start the server. It's going to ask you if you want to start a server on your little network thing, your router. And so we started it. Yeah. Okay, you can tell we started it because it's terminatable, but I guess I didn't make that. So now the client, we'll run the client, and on connect we're gonna say system.out.println connected. Okay, so on client connected, connection error. Ooh, interesting. Wonder what my error was. Did I do it wrong? Okay, so we're going to, oh no, that's the server connected, and then it connected, and then I guess in the code it says connected, and once it connected, it turned itself off because we don't have it doing anything, and so the connection error is on connection lost. So that's understandable. Cool. It means it works. Everything works. So just to give you a quick example of how you would send objects from another apple, we're going to make an apple object. It's going to implement serializable. What a word that is. Okay. Add default blah blah blah. I just don't like the squigglies. Okay, so we're gonna say private string name or color. How about that? Color. Apples have different colors, so we can go ahead and make this apple public apple. So when we create an apple, we're gonna ask for a color, and we're gonna say set the color of the apple to the color that we asked for. Yeah, and then we're gonna send it over, and hopefully it should work. So we're going to also on our client, we're going to extend bscreen or bframe. I shouldn't, but I'm going to just really quickly. Super. So client, I'll tell you what this means right after I'm done setting it up. False or true, it doesn't even matter, to be honest with you. So what a bframe is when I run it, it's going to let me comment this out and show you. When I run it, it's just going to make a frame for me. That client there is what's right here. 800 by 600 is the size of the frame, and true means that it is resizable. If I did false, it wouldn't be resizable, but that's just so that the client won't end as soon as I connect. So on connect, we're actually going to do server dot send object, and we're going to send a new apple red. We're going to send the server red. There you go. We're going to send it that string. F. We're going to send it the not the string, the apple, and the apple's going to carry the color red. And so I'm going to do the same thing for the server here, even though we're not going to use the frame. I just want it there because it helps a bit. So this one's going to be server 800 600 false, whatever, and I'll make another video about all the GUI that you can use with this. False. Resizable. False. This one you can't resize no matter what. Not extends. Super is the word you use. So basically, you know how in Apple we're asking for this. Basically, B-frames are the same way, but when you extend it, you have to use the super to put in for the color for Apple. We're gonna put in the name and stuff. All right, so that's easy. Run the server. Server's running. It'll tell you some stuff here. We got width, height, ByrdEngine, and cool. That's awesome. So, but actually, turn that off real quick. On object receive, we're gonna get this apple, and then what? So we want to system.out.println And this is a great time to teach you guys about instance of. So we're going to say if the object that we get right here, it's so basically when you send an object, it's going to have this object. And if the object is instance of apple, basically if the object is an apple, do this code, else don't do anything. And so this is a great way to distinguish between your objects. And so if it is an apple, we're going to say apple. We have to cast it. So apple object dot get color. So when we get it, we're going to get the apple and get the color. Or an easier way for you to look at this is apple A equals apple object. So there's two ways you can do it here, and then I could just say a.getColor, and I'll show you that way because it's very organized, and you should always have organized code. But as you can see, this is extremely simple. So for the client, we have a client, we've got the width and everything. It says connected successfully. So then when we go to the server, it says connected. This recognizes that a client connected, and then it says read. The client sent the object and everything went well. So if I had more time, I'd build out the on objects received from the client. I'd build out the on connection loss and on error. I'd build out login, username, password, sign up, that kind of stuff. And yeah, this is just the easiest way to make a server. I took a bunch of code in the ByrdEngine, if you'd like to see it for just a second here. Took a bunch of code, and this is all of it in action. Basically, what you're looking at that's mostly amazing is the connection class here. It's just a bunch of static classes and methods that will help you. So join, as you can see, doesn't require username and password, whereas create account does. And yeah, I'll make more videos about how everything works, and perhaps I'll get into the GUI or the database and anything else you guys would like to see at another time. Thanks for watching.